back to Brick Gaming YGO. Today I'm back here with another deck profile. This is an updated Thunder Myutant deck after I've tested this deck out quite a bit. This is the list I came up with. But before I get into it, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you're not subscribed, subscribing would mean a lot. It would really help out the channel. And the goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of next year. So if you want to help out with that goal, please like, comment, and subscribe. And let's get right into this deck profile. So first off, I just want to quickly mention that I did receive a shout out from Mikkel40 yesterday. He covered my deck list I am getting third place overall with, which was really cool and it meant a lot. So if you guys haven't seen that video, go check it out. He covers the deck pretty well. I like his explanation of Keystone. Then let's start off with 3 SC46. This one searches the spells and traps. And of course, corresponding whether monster, spell, or trap, you can banish one of those from your hand and then summon the corresponding monster. M05 has the same exact effect, except for instead this one searches out monsters on summon compared to spells or traps. Next card is 2 copies of Myutant Beast. You only want to play 2, 2's the max, you don't want to brick on him, so 2 is the correct number. Then 1 copy of Arsenal. Arsenal in this deck, since it's a mixed variant, you only want to play 1 just so that you'll increase your chance of bricking. And then finally 1 Mutant Mist, because this one's the worst one and you'll probably only ever make it once. Ever. Then moving on, for the Thunder Dragon package, I play 3 Thunder Dragon Dark. 3 seems pretty good. That's probably how many you want to play, plus you want to get those pops, so it's not that bad. 2 Thunder Dragon Roar. Once again, this one grabs something from grave, or if it's banished or sent from field to grave, you get special summon 1 Thunder Dragon from your deck. Dragon Dark searches himself out through the hand, and then if he leaves the field or is banished, he searches for any Thunder Dragon card. Then moving on, I play 2 copies of Thunder Dragon Matrix. Matrix is pretty good. It's really good in this deck as well because all your stuff banishes from hand, so when he's banished from hand, he searches another copy of himself, which is actually pretty nice, and it just allows you to always have hand control. So it's like in some ways it's better than Keystone, in other ways it's worse, but it's still a card that you're able to loop back at least like once or twice. And 1 Thunder Dragon Hawk, because you of course need that additional summon, and they also can fix your hands, and that can actually be meaningful in this deck. Moving on to the hand traps, of course 3 D-shifters. You don't want any graveyard. If your opponent has a graveyard, you're doing something wrong. If you have a graveyard, you're probably also doing something wrong. And then 3 copies of Nibiru. So the reason I decided to go with Nibiru over other hand traps is just because this card is such a powerful card. So I wanted to have power hand traps in the main, like cards that would just completely upset the duel and change the tables so I could more easily win with this deck. And so I went with at least for this deck, the 2 most powerful hand traps, because Gamma in this deck already has issues with bricking because Thunder Dragons are famous for bricking and Mutants are also pretty well known for bricking. So I just went with the best hand traps in this side deck. I have more hand traps that I can either switch out for Nibiru or just put in as additional hand traps. Because Nibiru isn't good in every matchup, but in the matchups it's good. It's really good. Moving on to the spells, I play 3 copies of Evolution Lab. You want to see this card as much as possible. This card basically can either be a starter or extender, depending on how your hand looks. For it to be a starter, you kind of have to have a little bit of a weird hand. For it to be an extender, that's pretty much any time. Anytime this card could become an extender during the match. Then you have 3 copies of Allure, just because you want extra consistency. You want to go like plus 5 bajillion off of all your Thunder Dragons. Going plus 5 bajillion feels good every time. I'm going to play 1 copy of Emergency Teleport, just another way to summon from deck. 1 copy of Goldstark, this can be really good, either with Evolution Lab or to start getting your Thunder Dragon plays going. 1 copy of Thunder Dragon Fusion, you don't want brick in this deck, so you only play 1 copy. And then 1 copy of Mutant Fusion, because you only play 1 copy, you don't want brick. Both of those cards are pretty much the only bricks, not the only bricks, but they're the worst bricks you can see turn 1. So you want to reduce these as much as possible. Then I play 3 copies of Mutant Cry. This can be a brick going on the first turn, especially if you're going first. This can be a brick card. But you also need to play 3 copies because you're probably going to use all 3 if the game becomes a grind game. You're going to go through all of them. And you might even play them more than the 3 times that you would normally be able to play them because Beast could get them back to your hand. Then I play, this might be a controversial opinion here, but after the first turn, you really don't use your extra deck, I've learned, and then if you're going to use your extra deck after first turn, it's usually late game, so that's why I put in 3 punishment. Now, let me just explain this really fast. So first off, you're not playing Extravagance, because Extravagance does literally nothing in this deck, and it's really bad to play Extravagance in this build. First turn, you usually go through all of your extra deck, or all the things you want to make in your extra deck, and then late game you usually go into your Mutant, or into stuff that will break up the board, but that's not until late game. So during that mid game and early game crunch where you're not going to your extra deck, punishment is just busted. It's just busted. Come on, you can get rid of up to 2 of your opponent's cards for practically free, and you're just locked out of your extra deck for 2 turns. Doesn't even matter. Mutant Cry just plays around that so easily. You never really make links in this deck unless you absolutely have to. So punishment is actually a lot better than what other people might think or say. And I think at 3 in this build, it's so much better than in the pair build. So. And that might also be another a controversial opinion, but in the pure build, you're looking at going to your extra deck more mid-game, and you're also looking at trying to get to macro a lot faster. You play a lower deck count as well. So I think punishment at 3 in this particular build is really good. You're going to play 3 expansion because you want to see your little boys as much as possible. Plus it's free protection, so it's really good. And then finally I play 1 copy of Macrocosmos because I don't want to have a graveyard. I don't want my opponent to have a graveyard. I don't even want to hear a graveyard throughout the entire duel. Like, anyone who says graveyard, no, you can't have graveyards here. No grave. You can't do any shenanigans that way. I want to get all my effects resolved and not have to worry about Baylor. Psh, come on, man. Then I'm going to get into the extra deck real fast, and then I'll wrap up the video with the side deck. For the extra, I play, of course, 1 copy of Titan. You only need 1. You could technically play 2 if you really wanted to, but it's hard to find room in this build. Like, I have a lot of decisions to make room-wise, so I only played 1 Titan. 1 Ultimus. In the pair build, you can definitely go through Ultimus a lot more, and you can also banish a lot of your Ultimuses off of Extravagance. So you only really want to play like 1 in this build because you don't have Extravagance, and it's harder to get to Ultimus in this build. So 1 Ultimus is all you need. Another build, I would highly recommend 3. Go 3 as much as possible. 3 Synthesis. In this build, Synthesis is so much easier to make. This is literally the easiest fusion to make an entire deck. I'm not even joking. It's easier to make this guy than Titan. So, yeah, Synthesis, really, really good card. Then for the punishment targets, the main 3 are 2 Entus because you're not playing Extravagance, so 2 is all you're ever going to need, and 1 copy of Chimera Phlesia. And of course, also, Ultimus is a great target for it because it kills literally everything. 3,500 attack is a lot of attack, and it outs pretty much everything, and then you can loop it back with your fusions. But these are the more generic target. Chimera Phlesia can get you to 1 of your 2 fusions during your next turn, so it just adds another card to your hand. And then also Entus, additional pops feel good. Then getting into the links, I play 1 copy of Link Ross because IP Masquerena is busted. Do you get to Masquerena, you can get into Link Ross, and then you can set up a way to get into either Phoenix or Unicorn, depending. This doesn't really come up as much. Like, the Nightmares come up way more than these 2, but if these 2 do come up, it feels really good because you can just easily make the Nightmares. And you don't play any other links. Access Code isn't very good. Boral Sword's really hard to make in this deck, so it's better just to go with those ones and just kind of have some generic ways to out cards. Then, of course, for the XYZs, 1 Dingirsu. Dingirsu is the best rank 8 for this deck. Like, I was testing out number 68 because it walks out Graveyard, but in this deck, it doesn't really matter because you want to banish everything. And then if you're also moving stuff from grave back to deck, which you're never going to do, I feel like number 68 just doesn't really matter because you're just going to walk your opponent out either way. And also number 38, don't get me wrong, it's a good card, but it has like no protection and it doesn't protect your field. And this deck, and pretty much any mutant field, if your opponent starts popping or negating your cards, you are going to lose. So Dingirsu is like the one way to play around that once your opponent starts building up resources towards the end of the mid game or late game. Because this deck can do really good in the mid game. Mid game, this deck is busted, but early and late game, you would need additional help, and Dingirsu is a card that brings that. And then for the rank 9s, True King of all calamities, because we're playing a fair deck. I just want my opponent not to use monster effects. Please don't. And then one copy of Interblathonir. This card's really good. Like, I know that most people only know of it because of Virtual World, but in this deck, you get 2 Synthesis out on the field. You're looking really good. You get those 2 pops, and then you can go into Blathonir and just banish all of your opponent's cards, like summon out second Synthesis, pop something that I'm worried about, overlay into Interblathonir, banish something else from your hand, field, or grave, or from the top of their deck, depending on where the game is at. And this card all of a sudden starts feeling really, really good. It feels really good. So, highly recommend Interblathonir. Then I'll move on to the side deck. So first off, I play one copy of Pankratops because it's a fair and balanced card. You want that additional summon. Just really good overall. It's good against like literally everything. Then triple Droll and Lockbird. I actually kind of like the new artwork. You can disagree with me, but I actually kind of like it. I think I prefer the original artwork though. But you know, Droll's still really good in this format. It's pretty good against pretty much everything. I think it's like the only card against dinos that really matters outside D-Shifter because Nibiru does nothing. So I would go Droll plus D-Shifter against them. And then for decks that search a lot or don't summon enough, you can just trade out Nibiru for Droll and then just lock them out and just be feeling fine. You feel good. Feeling good, man. Then for the spells inside deck, Triple Mystic Mine. I just want to slow down the game just a little bit. Just slowing down the game just a little bit until I can win. Because all these other decks just go vroom vroom or skirt skirt. This deck can't keep up with that very well. So slowing down the game just a little bit is fair in this deck. The one time that I think Mystic Mine becomes an unfair card is if you're playing the burn build or if you're trying to deck your opponent out. And I don't play burn build, so that's a plus. And I try not to deck people out because I just want to play Yu-Gi-Oh! But if it comes to that and I'm scared of their deck, yeah, it's deck out time. It's no more Yu-Gi-Oh! For you today. You want to go game 2 or game 3 or just call it GG? Because this card just kind of allows you to win. Win with a deck that shouldn't be winning tournaments or winning games. Because if the dinosaur player doesn't sign a whole bunch of back row hate, easy, Mystic Mine. Let's say you go up against anything except for Eldritch. If they don't sign back row hate, you win. You just outright win. So I would highly recommend playing this card in pretty much any rogue deck at this point, because otherwise you're just going to get outclassed by the more meta decks. And that's just a personal opinion, but it's a personal opinion I stick by. Then play 2 copies of Dark Roar No More. You could definitely bump this up to 3, but there's not very much room in side deck. And you're not playing against combo every single game. And if you're not playing against combo every single game, then this card just doesn't matter that much. And 2 seems reasonable just because of the side deck room. Then, continuing on to the side, I play Uno, Dos Cosmic, and 1 Harpies. Now, this is what I consider back row hate, and if I'm going against a back row deck, this deck can definitely have a bit of a struggle sometimes. A bit more than the pure build, so I threw Cosmics back in, because if you checked out my last deck profile, I removed Cosmic from the pure build, because in the pure build, Cosmic isn't really as good as in other decks. But in this build, Cosmic becomes pretty good. It becomes a pretty busted card, so I would highly recommend giving that a try. You can bump up to 3, and Harpy's Feather Duster just beats Rogue, and it just beats back row. And then finally, triple evenly matched, because you don't want your opponent having no cards. If they got cards, oh man, that's a serious problem right there. My opponent having cards and playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Can't have that. Oh no. So, it's just out stuff. If your opponent doesn't put up negate, you just win with this card. Or if your opponent only has one negate, you could bait out your opponent with like Harpies or some other card that they're worried about, and then just evenly them, and then it's basically GG because this deck just relies on having a lot of resources. Like, you can get up to like 7, 8 card hands easily with this deck. Like, it's not even a struggle. So evenly matched just allows you to facilitate that more. Yeah, so that's basically the deck profile. I'm right now just still testing this build out. I played Myutant yesterday at a tournament, and I once again went X1. My only loss was to Zoo. It was a little bit more of a casual tournament, so I didn't do like a video kind of recapping it because it was a lot more casual, and I only lost to like one of the few competitive players there, so it's just not really worth like talking about that much because I don't really consider that like a real win in a way. I don't know how best to describe it, but I just kind of felt like it's not really worth reporting on or saying like, oh, look at me. But the deck, Myutant Thunder, busted, and I would highly recommend trying it out. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys liked the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you're not subscribed, I would highly recommend it. Goal is to get 1,000, so I'll see you guys in the next video.